Hello, I'm Layla from Hidden Wires, and I'm joined today by Rich Green, company founder and keynote speaker at ISE 2025. Thanks for joining us today, Rich.
Such a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
So, you've worked with some pretty incredible clients. I'm curious to know what you've learned about building relationships as a system integrator.
Building relationships as a system integrator. There's probably nothing more important than that. When we start engaging with a client in the early design discovery stage, in my head, I'm thinking, I have got a client and a friend for the rest of my life. And that's the way I treat them. And people can feel that. So I think the most successful companies are the ones that establish that lifelong relationship with their clients. And they might be building a new house, and that house might last, 10 years for them, and then they move on to the next house and the next house, and then they retire into yet another facility. We're with them for that journey. So there's a commitment to doing the best thing possible for that client and their family. So that's an essential part of doing business in the custom integration kind of industry.
It's a relationship, isn't it?
It's all about
everything.
Deep relationships. And we're doing a design thinking workshop with my friend Peter Aylett on Friday morning. And in design thinking, which is kind of an invention of Palo Alto, California, which is where I'm from, you gain empathy for the people that you're working with. You get to know them. And so one of the things I like to do is when I'm starting to get to know a family, I'll invite myself over to dinner and say, I'd like to come over and have dinner with you. And they were like, well, that's kind of weird. Why? I said, because I want to see what happens in your family. What do the kids do when they come home from school? Where do they go? Do they do homework or do they play games? Do they go up to their room or they're in the family room? Who's cooking dinner? How are they cooking dinner? How do they engage with the kids when they're cooking dinner and so on? These are all very informative. It's like I'm an anthropologist, and I'm observing how their family behaves, and then I can design a system that's exactly right for them because I took the time to figure out who they are.
Yeah, that's the absolute key, isn't it? On that topic, I would like to know really kind of where you see affordable AV products leading the industry and changing habits in the home. How do you see that changing the landscape?
I started doing a future technology presentation for CEDIA in 1997, and back then the threat to CEDIA was home networking, like putting things on the network. It's like, oh my God, we're doomed. And that would make everything commoditized and we'll never have a business again. Well, it didn't work out that way. So yes, we have commoditized products coming into our space. Profit margins are eroding. This year, one of the announcements I'm going to make and talk about in my future technology presentation tomorrow at this show is that Apple is coming into our space aggressively this year, 2025. And they're coming in with smart homes, integrated products that will replace a lot of what we've done for very high dollar systems. Now, is that a threat or is that an opportunity? And they look at us and they say, "Ooh, we're really interested in knowing what you do because there's going to be this messy period where our products are going to have to integrate with a lot of old products that aren't updated, they haven't done their firmware updates and so on. It's going to be an ugly, messy period. We need people like us, integrators, to clean up the messes in those people's homes and then provide ongoing updates and service." In my company, and from my perspective, my philosophy, a system is never complete. It's never done. It's an ongoing process. And so there's no such thing as a warranty as far as I'm concerned because someone's Samsung TV firmware update could break some other device in the home. Whose fault is that? Well, it's nobody's fault. This is the way life is these days. So when we make this lifelong commitment to a customer, we're also making a lifelong commitment to serving them and servicing their systems proactively. We're probably there at least once a quarter to kind of clean things up, polish up the network, make sure security is tight, and so on. So I'm not afraid of commoditized products coming into our space at all. What I'm afraid of is the mess they create, and then people look back to us and say, well, why should I have to pay you to fix this $49 thing that I just bought? So there's a little bit of a mental twist that we have to get through.
Of course. It's a fascinating philosophy that you have. In the past, you have described yourself as a technology optimist, I believe. And I'd be curious to know, are there any market trends that have lived up to their promise or peril if we're thinking about something like AI, for example?
Oh my God. So I'm still a technology optimist, and there are so many opportunities coming that we can barely imagine what this is going to be like. The reason is that technology is accelerating. It grows exponentially, and that's because it keeps improving upon itself. So you can believe in exponential growth, as I do. When you look at, for example, we at CEDIA have been working with a recommended practice for immersive audio. It's the global standard in immersive audio, like Dolby Atmos, that sort of thing. We now have a recipe for designing immersive audio spaces that are really good. I mean, as good as it can possibly be on this earth. Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And when you show that to a client, the client says, I'm going to do level 4. I want the best of the best. Well, there's a reason. It's an engineering document that describes all of the steps that you take to deliver that kind of excellence. So immersive audio and the whole concept of immersion is a huge thing to be optimistic about. That is a huge growth opportunity for our industry. And it's not just immersive audio with the Dolby Atmos stuff, it's immersive video. So rooms that are completely painted with video. That's what happens here at ISE. So if you just go down the hall, you're going to see these micro LED video walls. They're basically video caves with that you can step into and play with and interact with. Huge opportunities. And so what's lacking in our industry more than anything else? Imagination. Imagination. This is what we need. Get out there, look at what's going on at this show and say, wait a minute, I know what I can do with that. And you might do something that they didn't even think of. So I think imagination, this is the time for optimism, and this is the time for imagination.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, there's no better environment, really, is there, for ingenuity and sharing ideas. So thank you so much, Rich, for your perspective. I very much look forward to hearing your talks, your sessions this week, and learning more about your work. Thank
My
you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you so much. Have a great show.